Hello and welcome to another edition of the Dugout podcast. I'm your co-host Andrew, joined as always by my fellow co-host Marissa. And welcome back. We're excited to join you again or have you join us, whichever one you prefer, for another edition of this what do you want to say, fun-filled, news-filled, I don't know, um, episodic program.
All the
So
objectives.
yeah, right. And I'm about to go on vacation. But anyhow, yeah. So right, let's get right into it, Marissa, with some, once again, some lovely cricket. Your team, the West Indies, have won the ODI series against England. So, yeah, Marissa, what are your thoughts? Anything that you really want to touch upon that you found striking?
Um, I just found it interesting that a lot was made of this series from the English press.
Hmm.
White ball reset. After the humbling that they got in the World Cup, this was going to be their fresh start, trying out some new faces and stuff, right? And you just see, I think, more of the same from England. I think we touched on it last week. The bowling attack looks a bit toothless. Um, and I think West Indies were able to really show that they're moving in the right direction. We all know 2023 has not been a good year for West Indies cricket. Failing to qualify for the World Cup was really, really poor, really dark day. I still remember when we did that emergency live recording after the Netherlands just completely destroyed us. But I think that there are definitely some building blocks there for the future. I think, Shea Hope continues to be class. Ale Athenes looks really good for the future. Romario Shepherd is showing why he was so highly rated
Hmm.
among West Indian selectors and coaches. Alzari is Alzari. And, the guy Matthew Ford looks good. Albeit it's just his first game. But there's some really good positive signs there for West Indies cricket playing a style of cricket that West Indians can identify with.
Hmm.
Still see some brain dead moments, and West
Right.
Indians can identify with that. But honestly, just playing, I think you said it as well, putting the blocks in place where players can come in and play their natural games. And I think that that has been really, really good to see.
Yeah. To piggyback from what you said, again, encouraging signs. And I think the thing that we must remember is that it's just a start. So I don't think anybody should be getting carried away. And I don't think we are in the Caribbean. I really don't think we are. I think we're just happy, for you know a little bit of light, hopefully coming through at the end of the tunnel, or what has been a tunnel. Our first ODI home series victory against England since 1998. So that's how how long this has been coming. How long we waited for a limited over series victory against England. And yeah, like you said, we have some encouraging signs. Happy to see some of the names that you mentioned, for example, like Marissa Shepherd, um, Shea Hope, for example, seeming to string some consistent performances together, right? I know the second game, because we won the series to one instead of 3-0, but the second game was a bit of a setback, so to speak. But it was a case where it wasn't like you had to wait, 3, 4 games down the line to get another good performance from
Yeah.
certain players. And I like the okay, so I'm not sure if we're gonna touch on it, but the T20 series has begun as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what I was
Again,
gonna
playing
say
all
is like,
no.
yeah, playing all now. Players like Robert McPaul, for example, that our letters have invested so much in. I'm happy to see that they are also showing consistency and responsibility. I talked about natural games, but I'm saying yeah, we still get the upgrade and moment. But I found in this recent ODI series and the early T20 games, we are seeing a bit more maturity from some personnel. Brandon King, for example, Powell, as I mentioned, Shepard, Joseph is Joseph, really blossoming into an excellent cricketer. Yeah, all these things. So I'm happy. I'm encouraged by that, and hopefully it can continue. What I would say about the English press before I hand it back over to you, in case you want to have the final word, is that I know they spoke about the reset and stuff like that, and in many ways it has been a reset for us as well. But at least, especially in terms of mentality, what Darren Sammy spoke about, and I think that's where he's really been trying to target. But I think like what he says is going to be encouraging signs and stuff like that is because I know, for example, my suspicion is that the English press will not want to give us our flowers, so to speak, and they will say that they've been missing, a whole pool of players who are better than the ones that they've sent and stuff like that. But you can only beat what's in front of you. So West Indian supporters, be encouraged, and let's hope that this can build some momentum as we head towards that home T20 World Cup.
Yeah, for sure. I also want to touch on the fact that Andre Russell was recalled for the T20 series.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people had thoughts about that, but I think we saw that in the first T20. Russell is still one of our better all-rounders. It's
Yeah.
obvious. And for whatever reason, he was exiled for the last 2 years. And I'm glad to see that he's back for one last hurrah for the T20 World Cup, because I think he'll likely retire after that next year.
Right.
But this is the one positive to having Darren Sammy as coach. I think because he wasn't a player too long ago, he
Mm-hmm.
can be a really excellent bridge between the
Mm-hmm.
selectors and the board and some key players. So,
Right.
there's some players still on the fringes. I know many West Indians have forgot about Evan Lewis, but I
Mm-hmm.
still think Evan Lewis is one of our better openers. He hasn't shown it in the CPL or any competition of late, but if he gets his head right, we talk about mentality, I still think he can offer this side, especially with Calmeers. Calmeers isn't really hitting the straps, I would say, as an opener.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if we can get Evan Lewis back in the fold, that will push some competition there. So yeah, it was great to see Russell back. Went for a few licks today, and I think we're probably going to depend on him to wrap up this game for us, because England now require 29 of 10 balls.
Mm-hmm.
He's been poor today, so if he bowls that final over, I really hope he can close it out. But my only concern is Hetmeyer.
Mm-hmm.
Hetmeyer has been awful in the one day series and awful in these T20s. And he looks, we all know the talent of the man, but he
Mm-hmm.
looks, I don't know what to say. He doesn't look like he's quite there mentally yet.
Mm-hmm.
Playing a lot of daft shots, getting up very timidly. You don't want to see West Indies getting up very timidly and soft.
Mm-hmm.
So his form is definitely a concern, but I think that they're going to back him because he's probably one of our most talented batters. But yeah, that's a really only concern. My other concern is also the lack of a sixth bowler. I think you're seeing it in today's game as well, where Russell has gone for plenty, and you would probably like another bowling option there. But I don't want to be too nitpicky. I just want to celebrate the light, as you said. It's been a dark 2023, but just want to celebrate the boys for doing well so far in these first, I guess, 5 games that they've played against England.
Yeah, and before I say I give you the final word, but I just want to give this person a big up. Before getting too far ahead of myself, um, I think that we should need to give Darren Sammy some praise as well. He seems to have
Mm-hmm.
brought a level of discipline and maturity to the group, confidence as well. In the sense that they seem to know their jobs, they seem to know their roles a bit more clear. And yeah, I think that
Yeah.
that is, like you said, he seems to have brought some early harmony towards the management and the players for sure. So in terms of selectors, the board, and then the players, yeah, and bringing people, back into the fold.
I think that's a fantastic point, because even though you said, even though I said, sorry, about the lack of a sixth bowler, one thing that you just hit a nail on the head like perfectly. There's such a role clarity now with West Indies. You can
Mm.
see that those batters know what are their roles in the side, and you could tell that those bowlers know what their roles are in the side. I think Carlos Brathwaite, who I must say he's an excellent pundit, by the way, excellent. He's been on the TNT Sports
TNT, right?
commentary team,
I saw
right?
snippets of.
And he made a very excellent point in terms of how the squad is constructed, in terms of how you can slot out one person and you could easily slot in somebody to fill that same role. And I think that's not something we've had for a while. I think West Indies squads have always been pieces of players here to do this job, and but this team seems to be a very well constructed team, and everybody
Yeah,
knows their role. So yeah, that is credit to Sammy and credit to the think tank as well.
yeah. Like, the planning is there so far.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
That you could actually see. Yeah.
exactly.
You haven't
So far,
always been able to see.
correct.
Yeah.
So that's it for cricket.
Well, there's one key topic we have to
Yeah,
address.
almost forgot. I apologize. I apologize.
Nothing surprising.
Mm-hmm.
But the level of I have thoughts on this. But let me ask you what are your thoughts first.
Damn. All right.
For our
So,
listeners, because everybody may not be watching, we're
mhm,
talking now about how Jason Holder, Calmeers, and Nicholas Puran have declined central contracts with Cricket West Indies.
okay. Right. And I presume that these central contracts are basically obligations that they are available for selection or required to play for the team in any format of the game or series that's upcoming, right?
Right.
So,
They did say they're available for T20s.
yeah, because they right for the T20 World Cup. Yeah, they did clarify that bit, that
Hmm.
tidbit. Okay, so I'm not sure how it works. I know, for example, there are other nations who also have the central contract model, and even though a player might sign the central contract, they still are given time to go and play the franchise cricket, for example, in selected series and stuff like that. I know the ECB does it for sure, and I guess maybe there's not enough trust yet between the players and the board that players might want to take that route and give the board the benefit of the doubt. But obviously, this decline of signing the contracts is, you know, I assume uh, mainly down to financial reasons and want to have the option to play franchise cricket where they can really make their bread, their money. So, well, I honestly believe that so this is just a reality of today's game. I don't think it's any um, inclination as to how passionate these players are to play for the West Indies. I just think it's about financial reasons and for them what makes sense. So I won't be too harsh on them. They are available for T20s. I believe that once there are no conflict of interest, they might also be available for any ODI series or Test cricket matches. In Jason Holder's case, for example, and Kalmir's in the future as well. So I just think it's a decision that was taken purely on economic benefit.
Well, it's very unlikely that Jason Holder will play Test cricket again. Personally, I
What is
think
that?
so.
I missed something.
You don't usually see persons who don't have a central contract playing Test cricket, especially
Mhm.
since a lot of the times our white ball commitments clash with other franchise leagues. Our
So
white ball commitments, sorry, clash with franchise leagues.
sorry, but when you mentioned Holder, so the one that come from Mears as well, because I know that he was in
Yeah,
Test
but
side.
Mears was already dropped from the Test side.
So you don't expect him to be selected again, right now at
Yeah,
least. Look at
right
you,
now.
look at
Hmm.
you. Don't expect him to be. Go ahead. Sorry.
So I'll be surprised. I think you made a good point in terms of let's say there's no clash. I think we
Mhm.
could probably go to a Jason Holden and say, all right, are you available for selection? And then he will either not having a central contract gives him the leeway to decline or accept, just like with the ODI series. Him and Puran didn't have contract, so they were able to opt out and
Mhm.
remain unavailable for selection. So the Jason
Right.
Holder one is the interesting one, but I fully do not expect him to play Test cricket. I honestly expected Holder to drop ODI cricket and play Test and T20s, but it seems that it may just be T20s. We'll see how that goes. But
Right.
like you rightfully said, I am not going to be harsh on anybody. I think this is the reality of it. And the reason why I say I had thoughts is that the Gales and the Pollards were just ahead of the curve. They were cussed right, left, up and down about it, but it was just the way cricket was going. We saw recently Trent Bolt, New Zealand's best fast bowler, also declined a central contract. Um, and you're going to see it a lot with players, especially there's so many different franchises right now,
Hmm.
um, and the money is there, and we can't. Like I was listening to a podcast the other day. These two cricketers were on a podcast, and they were saying, you know, they were talking to the podcast host, and they were like, "You can make podcasts until you're 80, but really and truly, we only got like 15 years at the top level." And I think that that's reality that a lot of people don't get, that you can only play cricket for so long, and these guys need to secure the financial futures. It's just the way things are, and the sort of money that is available in franchise cricket. Cricket West Indies can't compete with that. And that's
Exactly.
where you see teams like India, Australia, and England trying to tie their best players down to these multi-year contracts, because they also know that that's where the world is going. So I
Yeah.
really hope that there's no cuss out for them, but I also hope that there's an acknowledgement that, branding the Russells and the Pollards and the Gales as mercenaries was a bit premature and
Over
harsh.
over the top. It was over. It was over the
Over the
top.
top. Over the
Yeah.
top, yeah. Just an update, we just won the second T20 international by 10 runs. So take a 2-0 series lead with the opportunity to close out the series on Saturday. Very good performance. Just to touch on that game quickly.
Hmm.
Um, we had a horrible spell in the middle there where we lost 4 wickets for 11, but something you touched on in terms of maturity, you saw Brandon King and Powell be very mature and formulated a partnership and then went hard, which enabled us to get to a really decent score. And then the bowlers, I thought, did really well. Both to their fields, executed well. So really proud of the guys. Really, really proud of what we're doing.
It's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So now we can move on to off of the cricket. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Because we have, exactly football, the juicy topic first up. Man United. I regret naming this segment Man United's Champions League exit. Because
why is
really and
that?
truly, I think the conversation, viewers, please allow us to divert a little bit, do a little bit of be flexible, so to speak. I feel as though we really should really discuss whether or not this season is still salvageable for Man United because they're already out of the Carabao Cup. Um, Based on the season so far, I know they're obviously no, I shouldn't say mathematically, but they can still probably get top four if they put a run together. But the way in which they're playing, that doesn't seem lately. I know not only Champions League exit, but I think the big disappointment is for Man U fans is the fact that they finished bottom of the group, which is really appalling considering that it was a group when the draw was made, everybody looked at it and said, okay, they'll probably qualify as runner-ups. So it's been a very, very disappointing season so far. But yeah, you watch the Bayern game. I want to go first about Bayern. With Bayern game, team to
Sure, because
start.
I didn't watch it totally, to be honest. I only watched the first half, I think.
You're right. And just to bring people up to speed, I think Mayu went into the game in fourth position in the group, needing to win to advance and also hope that the result between Copenhagen and Galatasaray went in their favor, which would have been a draw to enable them to progress to the last 16 of the Champions League. Now, in those kind of circumstances where you need to win is your final group game is at home, the crowd was up for it and stuff like that. I think what disappointed the pundits from what I heard and also what I saw, I guess I can relate. Not I can't really relate, but I can imagine. Um, is the fact that a siege never came.
Mm.
There was never onslaught. You know, they never laid siege to the Bayern goal. It was almost like they allowed the game to drift, and they were just comfortable to, you know, contain Bayern. And it wasn't even a case that Bayern played exceptionally well. I guess on paper you might you're fearful of Bayern's attack and stuff like that. Um, and I guess that's disappointing considering the fact that Bayern also came off a heavy defeat at the weekend. Surprise, but heavy defeat 5-1 against I think it was Frankfurt. So I think most people expected Man U at some stage to have a goal. And the longer the game went, it was apparent that I don't think Man U had the creativity um, or the energy for the most part, to really trouble Bayern, and it was just a case of whether or not Bayern would actually, create chances. Because Bayern didn't create a lot either, granted, but it's one of those games where watching it on TV, if you didn't know the equation or the group dynamics, you would think that Man just needed a point to advance rather than needed three. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that was most disappointing. And I'll turn over to you at this point.
Yeah, I don't really have much thoughts on the game because, like I said, I only watched the first half. What I want to comment on is the whole campaign as a whole. Like, they ended with 4 points, right?
Yes, please.
Arguably, it should have been two because remember, Onana saved a last minute penalty in the
Mm-hmm.
1-0 win against Copenhagen at home.
Correct.
Um, I I thought that this was awful for Man United. Honestly, I know their fan base was making a lot of hullabaloo about Rasmus Højlund having 5 goals, being the top scorer and stuff, but Man United were absolutely horrendous in this group. And again, again, watching Man United pains me
Mm-hmm.
because Chelsea rock up at Old Trafford last week and met them look like playing Barcelona. Like, I'm like, that was literally the only game I can say this season that Manchester United deserved to win. And I don't even want to give them props for that because we made them look awesome. Because I don't know what was that performance, but it's not about Chelsea. But I say that to say, aside from that Chelsea game, I cannot tell you a game where I can genuinely say Man United played well, or they were unlucky not to get 3 points, or they were unlucky not to get something from the game. Man United has truly been awful this season, and I think the Champions League proved that. The 3-2 defeat at home to Galatasaray, ridiculous. The 3-3 draw away to Copenhagen, again, when they had that game in full control. Yes, they went down to 10 men, but 2-0 up. You're Manchester United, you're away from home, yes, but 2-0 up, down to 10 men. See out the
It,
game.
it was a tricky draw.
Yeah, against Copenhagen. Wait, they lost?
Was it?
Or they draw?
I can't remember.
I think they
I
draw
can't remember.
3-3.
I'm trying to
Or
remember
did that
now.
game end 4-3?
I think that game might have ended for a 3.
No. Let me lost. Let me do that. Let me get a quick check.
Yeah, give it a
But
quick try.
yeah, but my point still stands. Is like in all of these. Yes, I think the Bayern game at the Allianz was 3-2 to Bayern, right, or 4-3 or something like
4-3 to
that.
Bayern. Yeah, 4-3,
And I
yeah.
know that they could point to that and say, yeah, we scored 3 goals away from home, but still, like that performance was not good. It wasn't good. And you're right. The Copenhagen was 4-3. Gosh, that makes it
Yeah.
worse. So I just think, there's a lot of noise around Ten Hag being fired, Ten Hag staying, blah, blah, blah. But here's my point. I don't know if you were going to go on this show, but I'll take it there. Here's my point. You cannot attribute Manchester United's success last season to Ten Hag. And now that Ten Hag is doing poorly, you then want to bring in the Glazers and you want to bring in the structure and stuff. Not saying that that's not contributing, but you cannot completely give him praise for your good job last season and then absolve him of everything this season. Because to me, some of his decision making has been poor.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see my United fans talking about how Scott McTominay is the only thing Scott McTominay does is rock up in the box and give you a goal. Other than that, he's pretty much useless for the rest of the 90 minutes. And I can
Mm-hmm.
see that because you don't notice him. He's very invisible when he plays. Then you could talk about some of Ten Hag's signings. Mason Mount, Onana, Anthony. I saw a stat that Anthony has 1 assist for his entire Manchester United career. That's almost 18 months now. It's like, I don't know. It's just like Manchester United just feels like a club that needs a reset, in my opinion.
Give me 1 minute.
No problem.
Yeah, sorry. Been blowing the door. Right. Oh gosh, it's all happening. They need a reset. See, my position. I always felt as though their success last season was more about grinding results out than actually playing well and stuff like that. people talk about the Glazers, but Man United spent money. People talk about they need somebody in charge of football operations and stuff like that. Man need a better team in terms of personnel. They need to buy better players. I know. Okay, a coach has two jobs: football recruitment and then also improve the players that he has at his disposal. So I'm not saying because it's very impossible to set everybody in one, fill swoop, for example. But when we look at Man United, how many of their players can we say, and it's not just Ten Hag. If you go back to Jose, if you go back to Organa Solskjaer, if you go back to Van Gaal, how many of the Man United players have actually improved when the new manager has come in? No.
Mm-hmm.
When they signed players, nobody sat there and said, except for me, in terms of Mason Mount, I was very forthright in my opinion that I don't think he was a quality player, high quality player that is. But they signed him nonetheless rather, and you know it was a case where when they've signed players, nobody said that they're bad players, but then these players come to the club and it's like they can't find their form and they
Mm.
regress. And the expectation that people have of the players coming in, isn't the same. Isn't the reality when they get there and when they leave? It's like, oh, he's rubbish or whatever the case may be. Something has to be wrong there. In terms of that, because I feel as though how can it be that they've switched managers about 5 or 4 times in the last decade, for example, and all the signings that they've made have either underperformed and been subpar, or you get a case where the players who are already there haven't improved them. That is damning, and I don't know. I don't know where they go because it's not only their players' form, but it's also the injuries. Their injury list is mounting, Marissa.
Yeah.
So many players are absent from
You must be
on
licking your
Sunday.
lips for Sunday.
I don't want to be complacent. It's still my United at the end of the day. I'm going to give
True.
them their due respect, and then I'll talk my crap when the victory has been secured. But so that's my plan. But yes, so like their injury list is really mounting. I don't know because even in Champions League game against Bayern scored. There was I think Bayern scored like 20 minutes left,
Mm-hmm.
and then is bringing on youngsters from the bench, Mino and Hannibal and Palestri. Not saying that these aren't talents, and but you can't. You know what I mean? Like all the millions that we spent. I know they've had some injuries, but I'm okay. I didn't look at the bench to be honest. But I'm saying, gosh, and it's something that I said last at some point early in the year or something like that when I said that if you look through Man United squad on any website, once you get past what you would regard as the first 11, so to speak, and then the first 11 in itself might have one or two question marks. But when you get past that first 11, the squad is really, really, thin bare. As a case where you can see there's an imbalance. There's not enough quality there. So I feel as if, okay, when you say reset, what is that reset? What is that reset going to look like? Man, you have a lot of problems, and I didn't think that gets me too because they've had opportunities to get rid of some of these players. There've been a couple times where Martial would have been out of contract, and they chose to extend his deal.
And I'm hearing something that they may get extended again.
Anyhow, and then you have the players like Matt Tomlin who you wanted to dispose of, but then he didn't want to go. You were fortunate enough that somebody was actually going to take some money and bring for him, and he didn't want to go. Same with Maguire. I'm not saying that Maguire's a bad player. I never thought of that, but still, just the point. There are a lot of examples where players have declined opportunities to leave Old Trafford. And reset again. There's been a lot made of the culture. I think the man of Matic, there was an interview that came out with him. I'm not sure if you saw it.
Yeah, I heard it.
Where he spoke about the culture in the club and people could turn up
Yeah.
late and stuff like that. And I'm not surprised because when Oli was manager, it definitely Ole Gunnar Solskjaer seemed as if he wanted everybody to be comfortable, and he might have not necessarily wanted to tell people the hard truths. It did come across like that a bit, and that's the culture that was cultivated there.
Yeah.
So a lot of things have to be reset, and pundits like Gary Neville, for example, could come and talk about the roof leaking from now he come home. Ain't got nothing to do with what we see on the training field. If Ten Hag can't play expansive football because he has injuries and he doesn't have the players that necessarily make suit that stuff, go back to what we were doing last year. You know, right now the season has started poorly. I'm pretty sure right now at this point in time, coming into Christmas, it's about the result more so than the performance for the most
Yeah.
part. try to get someone, they'll try to get some clean sheets, and then the goals could come. People be more the fact that they spent a lot of money for Ramos Hoyland. But remember when we looked at the previous season, I said that you bought Hoyland. How can you buy a guy for so much money and his return in Serie A was so meager?
Yeah.
Because it
They
wasn't, he
bought
had not,
the
it doesn't
potential
have
more than
potential,
out.
it doesn't want the potential and not necessarily be the finished article, and that's fine. Like for example, Liverpool can perhaps do that with Darwin Nunes. Although his numbers in Portugal were kind of impressive as well. But for example, you could say, for example, Nunes doesn't score as much, right, as he ought to. Cool. He's not necessarily prolific, but you had a team that had Salah. And if you go beyond Nunes and go to Diaz and you brought him in, Mane was still there, Jota was still there. So you still had goals coming from the front line. Look at Man United. No, Rafa had a good season last year. The one good season he ever had in terms of prolific scoring. But apart from that, my goodness, Martial struggles. Rafa back to his, usual struggle and supposedly looking disinterested. Um, and that can't be the case. Like honestly, right? I don't think it's a case of a simple fact of tribulation as saying, for example, that these players need to run more, for example, because yeah, maybe they might need to run more, but you know, maturity and the game development and game understanding tells you that sometimes sprinting and running is unnecessary. It's when you do it. It's most important as opposed to just doing it. Because you can run around, to coke and home, and if the organization around the team is not great, it's not good, it's not going to be effective. So I'm not saying that if you go and run out, like hellish chickens just to show someone that they care, but there definitely needs be a bit more effort.
Yeah.
From Martial, for example, when he's playing through the middle, hold the ball up. Goodness gracious. Rashford needs to, if it's not going for you, tracking going forward, then track back and chase back your opposing wing back, and make sure he doesn't get a free run into the box across the ball all the damn thing. These are things that I am looking for. And right now, I think I answered you. I can't remember if I answered you, but let's say I did. It's a real serious question for me whether or not Ten Hag last this season.
Hmm. I I don't know, because I'm seeing them late with all sorts of managers now.
Mm.
I don't know if he does. I worry for him if he gets a thrashing at Anfield on Sunday. I do. I do.
Uh, I don't worry for him then. Because honestly, I don't think he would get a trash at Anfield on Sunday. When we come to predictions, I'm sure you realize that I don't think that. Um, I would take. Don't worry. I mean, I would celebrate for trashing, but I don't think it will happen. I think it will be. I still think it will be a relatively professional performance. But the thing that counts against Ten Hag, for example, for me, is again, he said that yesterday after his post match against Bayern that the performance was okay. Right? He's called it an okay performance. And again, it depends on the context you're looking at. Now, if you're looking at it from a context of we weren't embarrassed, we weren't necessarily outplayed, Burnley created a lot of chances. If you look at it from that perspective, and you say, for example, on the performance itself, there wasn't much between two teams, right? Then he's probably right. It was an okay performance. But if you look at it from the context of Manu season and
Yeah.
what that team needed, the performance that they needed to give, then that can't be okay. Because they said there was never a moment where it felt as if Bayern were really in jeopardy of being on the end of a positive result for Man United.
Yeah.
So and
Well, I guess. Go ahead.
right, and I was just gonna add, and their skipper of all people got himself a yellow card at the weekend against Bournemouth, which means that he ain't playing Sunday either. Oh my goodness.
So poor. So poor. I do think that there's a level of bias sometimes with certain English pundits when it comes to foreign players. But I
Mhm.
do think the criticism level at Bruno Fernandes is valid at times. Like, you're one booking away from suspension. You have the biggest game in this for the season on Sunday against your long-standing rivals, and you're going to get yourself a stupid yellow card. It's poor. It's poor. It's honestly poor. But anyways,
Mhm.
on to a team that has a lot more to be happy about, Aston Villa. So they've had two huge results. Huge. A fantastic victory against City, and then a different but equally fantastic victory against Arsenal, back-to-back games. So, and I think they're in third now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, are they contenders, whether for top four or the title?
Um, top four, I would say yes. I would give them their respect, and I would say yes. I believe that there are contenders for a top four. Um, do I think they will make it? No. But I think they will have a good season. I think they will qualify for Europe. So I expect them to be fifth or sixth
Who
rather
you
than
think
top
you pick
four.
them for top four Spurs?
Instead of them,
Hmm.
I fancy Spurs or Newcastle.
Okay. I think that's going to depend on injuries. I think you're really seeing you're really seeing the impact of injuries on some teams, to be honest.
Mhm.
And I think the teams that are really up there and doing well are the teams that are least affected by injuries, if we're being honest. I
Mhm.
know you've had a couple in recent weeks,
Mhm.
but you guys are flying, absolutely flying.
I don't know about
Um,
flying. I don't know about
I
flying.
mean, when I say playing, I mean in terms of picking up results.
Yes,
Liverpool are by no way playing well, which is scary.
we seem to have a nice resilience about us this season. Put it that way.
Exactly, and that
I
is the
think some
scary.
of our performances haven't been great.
So then, what happens when y'all start playing great? Then that's the scary part.
But what happens if we
But
don't start playing great and I know it's not we can't keep on getting out of jail, but it's not about Liverpool. But just saying, I'm a realist, right? We won't have those fortunate, for example, send offs that Jordan Ayew got against Jordan Ayew or Andre Ayew, can't remember which one, but
here's
Ayew got
Jordan.
against us on Sunday for that. Eh, it's a foul, but it wasn't a bookable offense to be honest, right? Got a second yellow. You're not gonna
Let's
have
just
that
say
all
the
the
luck
time.
is definitely with y'all. Lady
But
Luck is shining on Liverpool.
luck is on Liverpool side that you're saying.
Yeah,
I don't
pretty
want to hear
much.
that about luck because it went against us. Get Tottenham, get 2 points against me in
True.
controversial
Fair.
circumstances. I've had my moments on the receiving end. Don't do that to me, man. But anyhow,
Anyway,
I won't always get
all
off
right.
jail, right? So I have to be careful,
Right.
taking nothing for granted.
Fair enough. So it'll be interesting to see what Villa does if they pick up a few injuries. We've seen Spurs slip down the table with their injuries. We've seen Rodri's absence really hampering City a lot. Arsenal haven't really been that affected by injuries. Yeah, Jesus has been on and off the injury table, but I don't really think that's affected them greatly. But you see teams like Man United, Newcastle, Spurs, even throwing Chelsea, teams that are really, really struggling with injuries or teams that are really struggling. I think Brighton
Mhm.
as well have started to run into a bit of a rut because of their injuries as well. So for me, I think Aston Villa are playing really well. I think their first 11 is really, really good. But if they had to pick up a few injuries, I think that will affect their chances for top four. Title contenders, definitely not. I see this year's title as a three-horse race still.
Mhm.
Liverpool, Arsenal, and City. Um, yeah, so that's my thought on that.
Uh, okay. I have a couple of things before we move off of this topic that I want to add. My concern about Villa because injuries are part of the game. I think your depth of squad is what enables you, for example, to deal with injuries if you get them, right? And the more games that are played these days, the intensity of the games means that injuries are kind of like inevitable. Um, you just hope that if you do get injuries, it's not to what you would call key personnel, match winners,
Yeah.
for example. Um, but that being said, I think Villa's home form is very, very impressive. Their away form is not so good, so that'd be interesting to see how that plays out. Because if you're going to be in top four, for example, I would imagine that your away form needs to be somewhat respectable, and definitely if you're going to be title contenders. So I would say that could be something that hampers their Champions League aspirations. In terms of the title race, as you mentioned or you alluded to just now, being a three-horse race, uh, I'm not entirely sold on that. Put it that way. I'm not entirely sold yet. I mean, it might end up as a three horse race, for example, if we get the last 10, 15 odd games and there's still three teams, chasing it, for example, then it is a three horse race.
So you think
But
it's a
when I say
two?
I'm not sold on it, is that I expect in a title race, coming down to where, for example, I know that there are two teams who are very capable of being almost perfect in a running. The jury's still on one. And you can smell as much as you want, I'm not telling any lies, right? And we know because it's just going to be, because
You're not
last year,
telling. Yeah.
it was justifiable and very valid if someone assessed Arsenal and said, for example, that they sort of capitulated under pressure of that run in. And this is just going to be another season if they get that far in terms of they're still there or thereabouts. Because yeah, I know Villa's home form is good and stuff like that, but Villa isn't a perennial top four, contender or whatever the case may be. So I think that going to Villa and losing um, is a bad result for me, at least.
They
I
didn't play
think.
badly though.
Pardon?
They didn't play badly.
Well, fair enough. I mean, I didn't watch a game, but I'm just saying, yeah,
Yeah, I get you.
it's a disappointing result. My thing is that I still have a sneaky suspicion about Arsenal having any pressures on. Just like last year, you will see some of their key players start to do things that are out of character.
I agree because it starts from their manager as well. Their manager does not know how to control his emotions. So then that I think that kind of spills over to the team as well. So I guess you're valid. So we see come the running how it goes. Um so yeah, moving on to the final segment, which is our leaderboard that I'm continuously dreading every week because
You
boy,
had a,
it was another
you had
poor
a
week.
bad week last week, right?
Oh,
You had a bad week last week, last time.
yeah, when it had 0 points. And I didn't get 0 points this time, but some of my
Right?
predictions were just awful though. Phew. I have to say, I think our midweek fixtures. Remember, we were on last Tuesday and we predicted
Mhm.
Wednesday fixtures. I could tell you that we only got one right, which was Liverpool 2, Sheffield nil. All the other predictions we predicted, that maybe was wrong. But at least you still redeemed yourself on the weekend. Me, on the other hand, woo! So basically, your lead is now 6 points.
Okay. Whoa. All
I
right.
have 25, you have 19.
Playing some daylight in between there. Sorry, I have 25,
You
but you
have
have 19.
25. I have 19. I need to shape up. And it starts with
Okay.
not predicting Chelsea wins.
And
Except for
people,
this.
I want to bear in mind that she still has not delivered her whatever her praise to me was supposed to
I
be from
thought
last
about that.
week.
For your information, I thought about that this week, and we're going to do something while you're on vacation. Okay? Good.
Okay, I'm good.
No, that's
I,
good. Okay.
I, I appreciate that. You know.
I just want to say we also had something where we were wondering who will wear their shirt on the podcast after a defeat, and I
Mhm.
have stuck true to my word. And despite two disgusting losses over the last week, I am still wearing my shirt.
Well, in my defense, right? I'm not sure if Liverpool won or lost today in the Europa League, but in my defense, I haven't had that
You
many
ain't
defeats, so I haven't
exactly. I knew
had
you was
as
going to
many
say no.
opportunities to even
I
think about that.
predicted that response. So yeah, you do have a valid defense. So let's get right into it for this weekend's fixtures.
Hmm.
The first one is tomorrow. Forest versus Spurs.
Forest at home, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 2-1 Spurs.
Forest had a real bad defeat recently, right? Of 5-0 Fulham.
Yes, they did.
Hmm. But Forest isn't a bad side at home. Although Spurs had a fantastic result against Newcastle, I did not see that coming. Um, I don't know what to go with this. Like, I don't even trust myself. That's how bad my last few weeks have been. I do not trust myself. Um, I don't know if Spurs could win, but Spurs are so good going forward. Now what? Bite the bullet 2-1 Spurs.
2-1 Spurs. Okay.
Um, Chelsea versus Sheffield United, and as usual lately, I seem to always go first on these Chelsea predictions. I think Chelsea should win. I would say 3-1 because we can't keep clean sheets, and I think Sanchez is injured. But if Sheffield score first, we can lose 1-0. So
Interesting.
this week I'm getting it 2 predictions, okay? So
Wait,
whichever
which one
one,
is
I
which
get
one is
my
your
point.
prediction? Because we're not going to allow points for for both in case the in case it eventually happen. So
So I
which
got
one
to
is
pick one.
actually your prediction?
Very fair. It's Chelsea. You should at least give me 2-1. It's like Jekyll and Hyde. Anyways, 3-1 Chelsea.
Okay, I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea.
Fair. Man City at home to Palace.
Mm.
Scrape a little win against Little Luton last week.
I am going to go City to win this one 3-1.
Yeah, I think City are gonna find back their goal scoring boots this week. So I will go 3-0.
Okay.
Newcastle at home to Fulham. Now Newcastle have had a very strange week. A
Mm-hmm.
huge 3-0 defeat to Everton. Did not see that
Mm-hmm.
coming. Equally huge 4-1 defeat against
Tottenham.
Tottenham. And I actually think we have them in Carabao Cup on Tuesday as well. So an
Mm-hmm.
interesting
Yeah.
game coming up. But they're at home. I know they went to Champions League, went to Europe altogether, but I think Newcastle at home, you gotta fancy Newcastle at home. So I will go uh Fulham. Fulham has found some goals, boy.
Mm.
Mm. I go to 1 Newcastle.
Before I give my Newcastle prediction, just a word on Newcastle, and they've also exited Europe. Maybe we forgot to mention that. And I feel a little bit, I feel slight sympathy for Newcastle
I
because
know.
they were on the end of that bad penalty decision against PSG last match there, and I think
No.
if they had gotten that 3 points, I never know, that result against AC Milan might have been different. Could have been different for PSG too in terms of what they then would have needed to do as well. So, uh, but yeah, Newcastle young side, still learning and learning how to cope with these multiple competitions after being away from Europe for so long. So I give him a bit of grace. But back to the prediction, Newcastle Fulham. I'm gonna go 2-2. I'm
Not
gonna
a
go for a
bad
draw.
show. Not a bad show. I think Fulham have been playing really well of late, and Newcastle are definitely wounded. And they probably have to rest some players ahead of they will want to stay in the Carabao Cup for Europe.
Mm.
So it's not a bad prediction, but I'll still go with win. Every time I said it's not a bad prediction to your predictions last week, they turn out to be right. Sickening. Interesting game. A game
Yes,
Arsenal versus Brighton that I feel like
tasty,
at
tasty game.
different point in the season would have been tasty. I ain't sure I feel that way right now. I think Brighton have been very poor of late. Um, they have injuries. Arsenal at home. I think this will be comfortable for Arsenal. 2-0.
I mean, I think okay, you can say that Brighton have been a bit underwhelming in terms of results of late, but
Yeah.
I'm not even sure that the performance from Brighton has been poor, and I haven't watched Brighton games necessarily. But the
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I know about Brighton is that they have a distinctive style of play, and their
This is
performance is usually high. I think what is going against Brighton is the fact that they're making in-game mistakes that are costing them goals, and they're
sounds like Chelsea.
managing certain phases of the game well. So
Sounds like
they're either not starting the games well, you know, or they're making some crucial errors at crucial points that
hmm,
lead to um, deficits that they aren't necessarily always able to recover from.
sounds
But
familiar.
I
I
think
can
that
relate.
this would be a difficult game for Arsenal. I do feel as if, okay, so if Arsenal starts really quickly and gets like let's say resint a 2 goal lead, that Arsenal should win from there. But if Brighton can somehow match Arsenal and contain that early pressure, I think that this could end up being an interesting game because Brighton plays kind of way that will cause Arsenal problems. So, that being said, I'm going to go for a 2-all draw.
All right, guess we'll see. And the big game, big game.
Big game, big game, big
Um,
game.
Liverpool at home to Manchester United. Take it away.
Well, well, Marissa, I'm glad that you have allowed me the floor, allow me this forum to share my thoughts on this result. There's only one way to go, only one direction that I think this will go in. Mind the pun. Right. So I'm gonna go 3-0 Liverpool. Not exactly a drubbing, sorry, but a result that suggests that it would be a comfortable victory in the end. I think, and this not because I don't think that my um if they were full strength or had their full complement of players when they give a a, a good fight, for example. Because if there's ever a game that should mean something to Man United players this month, but I just think the amount of players that potentially are missing. Rashford is out, or supposedly might be out. Martial as well. Well, I don't know if we should really call Martial, but just in terms of name, Martial. I think Luis Shaw has an issue. Maguire, who's in good form recently, also picked up an injury. Casemiro is definitely going to be missing. Um, I think Malas is still injured. Bruno Fernandez is suspended. There are a lot of injuries that they have to contend with, and that's why I don't think that um, this result would be positive for Man United in the end. I think Liverpool should have enough to get the victory, and plus, Liverpool played this evening, but it was a much changed team because we've already won the group in the Europa League, for example. So Van Dijk, Salah, or usual starting 11 got the opportunity. I'm not sure if Klopp would have brought them on in the second half, but for sure, they got some rest, right, for the most part. So I think that means that should mean that Liverpool players are ready for Sunday.
All right. So before I get my prediction, I'll say this. Last week Wednesday, when Chelsea played Manchester United, I thought it was one of the worst performances that I've seen Chelsea have this season. Not one, the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Worse than second half against Newcastle. I was at a point in the game, I literally put my hands to my face at this and was like, my eyes are bleeding. Like it was that bad to watch. And my smartwatch, my stress meter on my smartwatch kind of pop up at a point and said, just relax. Literally, during the game. Like, I'm not even like. But despite that, Chelsea could have still easily scored 2 or 3 against Manchester United in that game. Comfortably. Playing bad.
Mm-hmm.
And they had not their first choice, but they had a lot of the players that you said are going to be missing there. So, with all that said, I am convinced that this result will be Liverpool 5, Manchester United 0. I expect you all to completely wipe the floor with Manchester United on Sunday.
Okay. All right, Marissa. I'm not getting carried away like that. You can't bait me into joining you
I
on that
am
crusade.
beating you. I just calling it as I say. If Chelsea that can't score goals created so many chances on their worst performance of the season against that Manchester United side, I just hazard to think what y'all gonna do to them. That is all
No,
I'm saying.
but this is what I'll say as well. Just to close up. I know you're a cop. I don't know him obviously, but I think I know him. You feel it here, feel it in your chest. But um, I just need Liverpool players Sunday to don't look at Magnus' recent form, don't look at the table, for example. Play the game, keep it professional, and get the 3 points. That's the most important thing. If we happen to get another emphatic victory like last season against them, then obviously as a Liverpool fan, I'll happily take it. But that's not necessary. All I want is the 3 points. All right, cool. I will take a 1-0, a 2-1, a 3-1, whatever. So I just want 3 points.
Fair enough. Well, that definitely brings us to the end. I mean, literally, we have darkness closing in on us.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of another show. We just want you to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'm actually not sure what's going to happen if this is our last show for the year or next week. I think we probably have to see about that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But we want you to follow us individually. Mr. Simone 91, June 91 or 6, the Dugout _ podcast, Spirit Led Studios, of course, Whole Health Pharmacy, and just continue to support us. We post our episodes every Friday. Very time, but every Friday. And your comments, your likes, your shares, they go a long way to telling us that you appreciate our effort. So, any word from you, sir?
Just to echo what you said, again, please follow, share, like, and subscribe. We appreciate, any viewership we get. We are happy for your support, and we hope that you continue. And this is going to, in fact, be our final episode of the year. We hope that 2024 is going to be bigger and better for us, and that we can gain a greater following. And we hope to, we are thankful, and we hope we appreciate your continued support as we continue to try to move the Dugout podcast forward.
Yes. So thank you for joining us, and do have a lovely day, afternoon, evening, night, whenever you're listening to this.